Howdy y'all, today we're going to install the pony motor on this D4 and a few other odds and ends. Before we jump into installing the pony motor, we're going to do a couple of things. I want to get the hand crank done on the front of the engine so we can turn it if we need to. And we want to check the valves again and finish setting them because we want to make sure the decompression system is exactly where it's supposed to be. Now, I've mentioned before how blessed we are to have such good neighbors here. And once again, our neighbors have kind of bailed us out because our lathe went down. And this is the pin to replace the pin that holds the little cover on the front of the crank housing on the front of the radiator. Now we machined this out of a soft bolt because once this gets installed, we need to mushroom the top of it, kind of like a rivet. This goes on the front of the tractor. On the other side, we're going to install our spring first, and this is a 3K5733 spring, and I got that from an aftermarket source. Now, I'll install my other pin, and I'm going to have to compress this in a vise so that we can kind of make a rivet out of the other side, but that is going to go through the other side of this, and I'm going to line that up there, and we'll just rivet the other side of this. Okay, there is an up and a down. There's a bigger hole and a smaller hole, and you can tell here where the pop mark is, that's where the dirt was sitting in the bottom. And we have this nut right here, and I'm just going to put on here. I'll hit it down with a hammer a little bit, and then I'll tack weld it. I think I'm just going to clean this up, and we'll put some paint on it. I think this is going to work perfectly. This goes to the top. This is at the bottom of the tractor. So when you're cranking it, this is hanging downwards. Let's put this pony motor on. I've chased the threads on all these studs here, and this one here is actually still in the pony motor with the nut on top of it, so we're going to leave it alone. And I can pull the tape off of here, and I'll clean up this surface. This compartment runs in gear oil, and it fills right here. And this is a water passage that circulates through the engine, up through the cooling system, and back out here through the head. Or maybe the other way around, but you get the point. Okay, let's put it on. We just realized this is the bell housing off of our 7J parts machine.
It was at this moment that he knew.
The stud is stuck in the, it's not stuck, but there's still a stud in the pony motor block for this one, and we need a stud back here. So the plan is just to take this one out and put it in over here. It always makes me laugh because in the CAT books it says to pick it up by that manifold. They have pictures of picking it up by that manifold, and for some reason that really bothers me. You'll go high enough. This is a bit of a tricky part. We have this gasket that needs to go in between the pony motor and the head. It sits in just like this. Now it's grooved on the pony motor side. This head is not. On the newer ones, there's a groove in here to hold it. And an expert told me the best thing to do is just plain dish soap and put dish soap on there and squeeze it in there. If you loosen up the pony motor, you can tip it back and just slide this in there. These newer style ones, you can get a pair of pliers in there to help seat it. In our case, not having the tractor together, we'll be able to just tip the pony motor backwards and hopefully just slide this in from the top. You can see how it's kind of dished out and grooved in there to accommodate this gasket. Just like so. Dad's going to get a little emery cloth and clean all this off. I'm going to open up the gasket, and this is a 2A3483. Looks like Cat still had this. I was able to get it. I think there's a source online that has them as well. We've decided to give this a once over with the die grinder just to clean it up. We almost forgot. Right here is the drain for the oil out of the pony motor, and that's going to take a 2A3627 gasket. This oil drain tube, it's just pot metal. It's really light. So when we put this on, and this should be on before you put the pony motor on, it's a heck of a lot easier to get to. But you got to be very careful when you pull off pony motors not to break this off. And you don't have to over tighten it. Let's go ahead and put the gasket on here. Perfect. That's just putting a little tire bead lubricant on there instead of dish soap. Same thing. Come up a hair higher just to be on the safe side.
I've got to go to clear the oil pan, like right there. Higher?
Come on ahead. We're here. We're committed.
Coming down slow.
And you can kind of back out as we go down because... Go ahead.
Hold it.
Go ahead down. I think.
There.
There we go. Nice. I think we might be on a gear. We might need to...
Oh, that's what it is. Because it's up on this side.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Rotate the pinion.
Let me get this out of here.
Go ahead and engage it, I guess. Okay. There it goes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to rock the pony motor back. And, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful.
And hopefully I don't drop this all the way to the bottom, but...
Watch your fingers.
Yeah, I got my finger a little bit. Okay. It's in. This machine had an old style of gasket in there when we first took it apart. And this in here was completely packed with dirt all the way up. This is the stud that actually got left in the pony motor, and oh, it's starting easy. We're started. This is the very tedious part because all these bolts are, well, they're not in a very easily accessible place. And that goes double for that one back there. These are all a fine thread as well. Hard to see it in there, but there's a little nut down there. I remember when we took this apart, this was hard to get to. And I got a universal, and I got it started using a little claw that I have, and I got a lock washer on there as well. This is what I use. I didn't put it on camera because it's hard to get a camera in there and work in there. But I basically just put this lock washer in this claw, and then I could set it right on that stud, and you just press this to release it. And same thing with the nut. I was able to grab the nut and screw it on there, and somehow it went. The only way you can access any of these nuts is with an open end. So I am going to shut the camera off here. I'm going to work on the ones on this side, and Dad's going to work on the ones on the other side. That gasket's squished in there quite a bit, but I think we got everything nice and tight on this pony motor. Dad's finishing up one last one on the end there. This is the lever for the decompression system. We're going to put that in, but we're going to put a little grease inside of there. There's a little woodruff key that goes in here. Now all we have to do is put this pin right here into the end of that little arm. All right. That's run. That's start. Run. Start. I'm going to move to the front of the radiator and finish that up. Where you been? 15/16. It still boggles my mind how much stuff on here is 15/16. Let's test out the crank. Dad and I are having a little bit of a debate here. I said that I don't think you could crank start this diesel. Dad, you think you can?
Sure.
We're going to have to find out. He says
It's going to be a lot of hard, heavy work, but why do you think they have a crank on it?
I mean, yeah, well, I thought that the crank was just here to maybe turn over the engine for work and different things.
I don't think
but
so. If your pony motor failed or you ran out of gas, you could come up here and crank it.
Well, when this thing starts running, we're going to have to figure that out. All right. There we go. Oh, yeah.
Be careful it don't start.
Yeah. You know what? It works.
It'll work fine.
I'm calling it good. Got my Magneto over here, opened up. There's a little bearing in here. I'm going to put a little grease on. I'm going to pop this seal out of the back of that and put a new one in there. And that's pretty much it. We kind of tested this and it sparked. I've got a new coil, a new old stock Eisemann one, that I can put in here if I need to, but as long as it's sparking, there's no sense sanding down that UV deteriorated part. You can see the overspray from Cat Yellow on it. Maybe when we get that off, maybe the acetone will shine it up.
It just takes a lot of elbow grease. You want me to paint this black?
Yes, yeah, let's do. I need to find a screw for it. We had that one that got stuck. Now turn it. Where's your wrench at? We'll try it. Hey, look at that. I'm just going to put a little elbow grease into this, and we'll see what it turns out like. That's probably as good as I'm going to get it. Dad just got to the final boss of gasket making on the D4.
Yeah, this is probably going to be my most challenging gasket yet.
Yeah, this is level 11 gasket.
This is extreme gasket making.
And this is the gasket for the Magneto that I'm polishing up right now. I'm going to call this the Eisemann Gasket Challenge. Let's see how Dad does. Dad has definitely passed the gasket gauntlet. Not only did he make it, it fits in here really, really well. So, pass. We got our Magneto magnet painted, so it can go on there. I think I need to address this bearing here, which is going to be fine, but I need to clean it out. I think I'll spray it out and then pack it with new grease. You know where this is going. I know where this is going. Grandpa's favorite. Put a little bit on here, a little where that Woodruff key goes. Let's see if I can pop that seal out of there. Pretty easy. Put a 4H1722 seal. This is a new old stock one I got. I think it's this 5946 SKF will do the same thing. But I'm going to use this new old stock Cat one I have. This 3/4 socket. Fits about perfect. There. Put the back cover on. Let's put the gear on. There's a little Woodruff key that goes right there. And my hands are oily because I just put a little bit of grease on everything. And that will actually go into the slot here, which will time to the timing mark that goes onto the #1 cylinder on our pony motor. Help if I lined it up. There it goes. Put our lock washer and the correct side of the nut towards the gear. And that nut's only a 5/8. I just shined up this contact right here, where it contacts right here inside of the distributor cap. Taking this plate off the bottom of the Magneto, and we're going to double check our timing. Uh-oh, gasket maker's going to have to make a gasket. We're trying to figure out how to set the timing, make sure that it's correct on this Magneto. Reverse rotation on the Magneto with that drill in the back. What was it, a .098 until it stops.
I can feel it rubbing. There. It just went in, and now it's locked.
Okay, and you went in this hole right
on
here?
On the top.
Okay. It says to loosen these two screws here and here so that we can adjust and rotate that fork.
So where are your points? Your points should just start to break, but see, they're already broke. So we need to, what we need to do is get your cigarettes out and put a piece of cigarette paper in there and turn that till it's tight on that paper, and then that's the proper set.
Okay. Let me call my brother. Well, my brother's all out of cigarette paper, but I got a 2/1000ths gauge here we can try. It's these two here. Ended up taking this apart. It's so corroded in here. I think we're going to clean everything up. It's not going to work. Dad's cleaning up the points over there on that side, and I've got them all apart. I'm going to clean this up, polish it, clean this up, polish it, and we're going to put some good grease on here. Putting a little dielectric grease on this stuff. I just got this piece shined up too. We got everything cleaned up and back in here, and we put anti-seize on these. These came out really hard, so we're going to set the points. Got to turn the points till they're...
Right there.
Yeah, right on the high point of the cam right there.
Right there.
And then we need to set them at 20. And I can tell we're way too much right now. Put it in there, go ahead and bring them up. Trying to hold a camera and use the feeler gauge.
Trouble is, I can't see good.
I can't either. So we're two blind people trying to set points.
That ain't bad.
No.
Let me snug it.
Snug it and we'll check it.
I think we're probably pretty good, because a 22 moves it.
Dad just checked the edge gap, and we're good right where it was. So we're going to leave it alone. We'll put it all back together. We're going to put a little grease right here on the cam where the points break and ride. And I guess we'll put it back together. I've made some gaskets and painted the plates so we can button everything up. We just used a little bit of dielectric grease on that. We're going to put our spark plugs on to a couple of wires and give this a test run. Dad's going to turn it.
No spark, nothing. We have no spark.
Been a long day, and we got no spark, but part of the problem might be that it may need this. I might have been the one that put this together and forgot that rotor.
It was at this moment that he knew.
Let's see if it's going to work. Oh, they're sparking. It's sparking. They're sparking.
Okay, well, it's working.
We're going to throw this one in there and see what it does. For comparison, the little adjustment in the back is exactly the same as the one we just did for 4G. Okay, spin it.
Same thing.
Yeah, they are.
Looks like the same thing to me.
She's working. Going to put a homemade gasket down here, and this is where we check the edge gap. That one done. Let's do this one. Let's get the one on the back. I really don't need to see in there anymore. I've got the mark on the bottom of the gear. So one more thing I want to do. I'd like to chase these threads up here so that this thumb screw will go on easier. That was a little tricky and tedious, but I got that working so it'll work with your fingers instead of having to force it. I'm going to put the studs in here that hold the Magneto. And these are a coarse thread by fine thread stud. Okay, let's put that Magneto on there. We're going to pull the spark plug off of the pony motor cylinder number 1, which in the book they call it the closest to the flywheel. So it's this one that's further back. If you notice, they're staggered, and the other one's up here closer to the main engine. And we need to feel for compression and make sure that we're on the compression stroke of that cylinder. It's hard for me to get the camera in there, but I think that is our C. So we are 180 degrees off.
Now it's pushing.
Got to look back here and see. Oh, there it is, right there. Got a pony motor camshaft here with the cam gear on it. And on this side you can see it's marked with a C, and I'm assuming that means crank. And over here an M, which I'm assuming means Magneto. Got our gasket on the back. The bottom is marked here to the M on Magneto, to the M on the cam gear. Okay, you see it?
Yeah.
See right here that it's right between those teeth.
Yeah, and this is on the tooth.
That's on the tooth.
Yeah.
See, I think I need to move a gear a little bit. It's hard to see, folks, but they're lined up. The tooth on the cam gear is right in between the mark of the M on between the two gears on the Magneto. Uh-oh, I hear rain.
Yeah.
Pony motor and the Magneto are on the tractor. That's one step closer. I gotta go outside and button things up, but I do want to thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. This one might miss us, but it might not. The way the wind's blowing, it might hit us. I hear thunder.
If we get a day that we can paint, we're going to go for it.
This thing's going to go together quick when we get the paint done.
Remember how corroded it was? You couldn't even read the numbers.
It looks really good.
If it wasn't for these scratches, it'd look pretty much like new.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. The tags on this thing took a beating for some reason. Even the little D4 one on the radiator.
yeah, that's like metal scratched.
This is the one off of the fuel pump cover.
Yeah.
Wow.
We'll put that on there. That'll look nice.
Yeah.
This one's coming around too. It's just that too bad something scraped it all up. And
this is the patent tag on the seat.
right.
That was on the back, or was the side?
On the side of the seat.
Yeah.
There's not much we can do about this stuff here, but
Looks good.
it's better than it was. You can read the patent numbers now.
That's good, in case I want to look up a patent.